we're now joined by former Finance Secretary Subhash Chandra Garg. We also have with us Abhijit Das, international trade expert and former head of Center for WTO Studies. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. Mr. Das, let me begin with you and the latest heat that we're feeling from Donald Trump. In the past, you've said that, this is Trump being Trump. His aggressive rhetoric should not be taken seriously in a way. But now it's just increasingly getting more and more provocative. What are your latest thoughts?
Thank you for having me on your show. Trump being Trump, as I said earlier, he will try to use the big stick in terms of tariff threats to extract as much of concessions as possible. He has already struck almost one-sided, hopelessly skewed deals in his favor with European Union, with Indonesia, with Japan, and a few other countries. He's trying the same trick with India, and it is to the credit of the government that so far we have stood very firm. Showing any weakness in front of the threats being shown by Trump could have consequences not only in the agriculture sector, but could have implications for access to affordable medicine, could have implications for our digital future, could have adverse consequences for even for sectors such as MSMEs through meeting demands of the US on government procurement. In a nutshell, Trump is using the tariff threat for extracting one-sided concessions, or trying to make sure that the policies in various countries, including India, are aligned, are changed to do just one thing: promote the economic and commercial interests of the United States. So that's where we are.
Mr. Das, Mr. Garg, good to have you on. Let me bring in Mr. Garg into the conversation as well. And sir, I just kept reading and rereading the lines yesterday, the MEA statement. It was quite telling, Till now, and it's been, 3-4 months. We've just maintained stoic silence, or not really engaged with any of the rhetoric. But yesterday was a very clear and very specific call out in terms of what the EU is buying from Russia, what the US itself is buying from Russia. So where does this leave the hope for some sort of a trade breakthrough? This looks like a bit of a logjam. Your interpretation, sir.
So you issue a statement bringing out the fallacy or that United States, EU, all are doing business with Russia, and they're asking us not to do it. Now that contradiction, etc., is aimed at what? It's aimed at telling the United States that don't try to fool us. Let us be clear about you are doing business, let's also do business. Is that the intent? Or is that the intent is that all right, now we have seen through your game, and we'll also not be any longer looking at the kind of deal which we've been trying for the last 3-4 months. So I don't know what exactly is the message being sent, but in my judgment, Trump, everybody now knows, is not only transactional, but he negotiates on the moment. That in this particular moment, what does he want? A couple of months back, he was against Ukraine, in favor of Russia. Today, he has turned completely against Russia and is in favor of Ukraine. So that is something. It's very difficult. So to do a deal with a mercurial person like him, he has his objective, and unfortunately for the world, he has succeeded in wielding this tariff bludgeon in such a way that he has got what he wanted to get. Most of the world has given in to his ask. So whether it's EU, Japan, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc. So I think he sees today that tariff is a very, very good weapon in his hand. And he can make the recalcitrants like India also to fall in line by saying that 25% is one, but I'll put you under much more of a penalty kind of thing. So I think you can't have a negotiation under such a situation. It's like a storm. When some storm hits you, you don't do a deal with the storm. You try to weather it out. You try to see that it passes through, and your damage are limited. So, in my judgment, what is today needed is that we should sort of call this bluff out of this tariff threat.
Yeah.
Let us look at our interests. We have $85 billion kind of export to them. 40 is exempt in any case, the electronics and other things which have a different trajectory. It's about $40 billion of the trade which is at risk of the tariff. In my judgment, if you don't offer any concession to United States on this, even if there is a 10, 15, 20% kind of loss, I think we'll be able to call this bluff out of the tariffs. That is the way to go rather than trying to find a deal with.
Mr. Garg, that point is taken. Don't chase a deal with the US given the unpredictability and the mercurial nature. But while India's overall share might be low in US trade, there are certain sectors where the cost of inaction will hurt them greatly. So it may be $40 billion overall, but it's restricted to certain sectors like textiles, for instance, gems and jewelries. So isn't that going to greatly hurt these sectors if we don't do anything and strike a deal? They may get impacted severely.
If you do a deal, let us say you accept 25% tariffs on textiles, it wipes out all your profits, all your margins. Then what are you gaining out of that export? So if you are, let us say, making 15% and you reduce the prices by 25%, what is that export worth? If that reality is recognized, and so this will tell you very clearly that in this situation, that if you're faced with 25% tariff, it doesn't make sense to export to textile to America. So what do? Suppose you have some surplus left and Americans don't accept. Then you either use that for our factories to use that in the domestic market, or take it elsewhere where there is no this 25% kind of thing.
No, absolutely. But sir, the counter to that would be coming in obviously from the specific segments that get impacted. And I think the textile folks have already reached out saying that they want some help with duty drawbacks, etc. And then there's a question of penalty. So 25% plus, we don't know what penalty he's thinking of. Let me quickly go back to Mr. Das for the final word on this. Mr. Das, the issue seems to be that we're stuck at multiple fronts. I mean, this is not just about tariff, line-by-line tariff negotiations at all, right? I mean, there's market access issue. They want to bring in GM crops. Then there is the Russian oil issue. So do you see any scope of a middle ground?
Honestly, a middle ground does not exist because Trump does not believe in a middle ground. Trump believes only in his own ground, and he doesn't want to concede anything to the other party. So in all likelihood, any deal which we might end up striking with Trump could be hopelessly tilted against our interests. And let's not forget that these tariffs, which are illegal from the WTO perspective, are also being challenged in the US courts. So should we be conceding huge ground, giving concessions just out of fear that Trump will block our exports through these illegal tariffs when at a subsequent date, let's say a few months down the line, these tariffs have to be withdrawn by Trump because they are illegal? I think at this juncture, prudence suggests that we hold on. We should not be making unilateral concessions. We should not be. We should not get cowed down by the tariff threat. We may have to endure a bit of pain, but in the long term, enduring that pain works better in national interest than giving concessions which Trump is demanding of us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a point well made and well taken as well. So perhaps India is one of the few countries that actually hasn't, quote-unquote, bent the knee, as what the EU is being called out for, and plenty of local opposition there for the deal that they've done. Thank you very much for the perspective that you've shared with us this morning. Appreciate you joining in.